That's the Anthony Richardson journey right now. You have to grow up and become a professional and mature. Whatever was the truth, the reality of the building last year, you have to learn from it, and you have to grow from it, and you have to build from it. And then there's also the reality of some of the things that were mechanically the conversation coming out of school. Those are work things. Those are just improvement things. Those are control things. And the toughness element of it. You are a big, physical, unbelievably gifted athlete. You're going to take some shots. Stay on the field. Find ways to stay on the field. And so I think, like, the downs that Chris Ballard talked about, we know the downs of Daniel Jones. He hasn't figured out how to play under pressure. It's not a problem with Anthony Richardson. Anthony's are controllable. This is the year we become a pro, we become an adult, we take over. This is my organization, my football team, and you move on from the past. And honestly, if he doesn't do that, he doesn't deserve the job.
No, you're right. And Chris Ballard said both of these guys help. If Daniel Jones is helping, you're hoping it's with a clipboard and a headset on because you want Anthony Richardson to take that step. The fear is last year when you're talking about a guy's commitment to the team, like whether in year 1 or year 15, like you have to start to figure these things out. And I look at this for the Indianapolis Colts, they've kind of protected him so far because I was down there in that building for games for them, and everybody raved about his work ethic, who he was as a person, how he was showing up, all of those same things. But then he's benched and he's told that he has to grow up. So those are some of the things that, like you guys said, he has to take that responsibility. And to Mina's point, starting right now in the offseason program of showing that leadership.
Yeah. What the GM said, where he was like, you know, if I was a betting man, both AR and Daniel Jones would be contributing next season. Like, it's a weird thing to say about like a backup quarterback and a young quarterback here. Especially it's not like they plan on doing some like, I don't know, you know, some unique, you know, like a wildcat or just something that's like more kind of like, you know, interesting and dynamic where you're like, oh, okay, I kind of see what he's saying. Like that's, so it's a weird comment to make, but this does feel the year for AR where he really needs to take a massive step forward. It's funny because they talk about his maturity, and I don't even see that being as the problem because I wouldn't say that he's immature. I know a lot of people don't like that he like wanted to come off the field in that moment, and Orlovsky kind of alluded to that. And obviously you don't want that, but like that actually doesn't bother me as much because I've played with players like that before in the past, and it actually comes not from a negative place. It doesn't come from a place of like I don't want to be out there or like it's hard to put in words. It was obviously a mistake, but that is where when sometimes like the toughness and the expectations of just being a man and being out there like is it just kind of gets blurred a little bit. Again, I'm not defending it, but I think it just honestly came back from a more innocent place. Like it reminds me actually closer to I can't think of his name right now, but you guys will know who I'm talking about. When the one player, I think rest in peace, when he got cut, I think he was getting cut, and he was on like Hard Knocks, and he was just like, I need to call my grandma or something like that, and the GM was like, you know, no, you will in a second, like, you know, let's just talk this out or whatever. And it was just like, it just comes more from like a place of innocence than anything. And so I guess if we're talking about maturity in that regard, sure, but like I don't see that being the limiting factor of AR's game. Like you got to be more accurate with the ball, man. You got to make better decisions, like, and we can lump that into maturity, I suppose, but like I'm looking at it more from like, you know, you need to grow and evolve as a player. You know, you can make the argument that Lamar Jackson early on in his career was immature, and yet like he could still let it rip, and you know, you clearly saw just after the one season of like this guy can play, right? He could be playing with Legos and watching, you know, Nick Jr. for all I care. Like it's just like the guy can play, right? So it's just I don't know. And that is the luxury too of having Shane Steichen as your coach. I know there's question marks about him as a head coach, which I think is fair based on some of the things that I heard about him just being able to control the team. But in terms of maximizing your quarterback and the offense on the field, Like, no, like, you're not going to be like, oh, let's move on from Shane Steichen and then we're going to get a new coach and he's going to make Anthony Richardson work. I don't see that being the case by any stretch of the imagination. But it is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how much does Shane Steichen feel like how much pressure he feels breathing down his neck. Because if AR is still kind of all over the place, like, depending on whether there's a lot of pressure on Shane Steichen to like get this job done right now, he might switch to a Daniel Jones because he's just kind of like, I need a quarterback who's been in the league for years now. I need a quarterback that when I say do X, Y, and Z, he truly understands X, Y, and Z. And a lot of people still do believe that Daniel Jones can play, that he that he is still like a legitimate quarterback in the NFL. Again, he might not be a top 5, top 10 superstar, but like he can still win you some games. He's still a legitimate, at least one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, even if it is just 32nd. And then of course you have some people that are like, this guy's a backup, he's awful, he's a bust, he's just a backup quarterback, which can also be the case. But I think it probably depends on how good do you think Brian Daboll is as a head coach compared to how good do you think that roster was and how good do you think Daniel Jones is. Like, that's what was kind of the problem of evaluating kind of all three of those things, because all three of those things are, the Giants were just such a mess that you don't really have a lot of clarity. And so when you don't have a lot of clarity, when you're trying to isolate how good is this coach, how good is he as a head coach, how good is he as an offensive coordinator, a play caller, a quarterback, like it's just, when you have kind of a mess, it's hard to evaluate. And in a way, that's kind of how the Colts feel right now. But when you see like legitimate high quality games with a Joe Flacco, to me that kind of signals, hey, you kind of have something here, but it's just hard to really kind of get that consistency and that continuity and the team belief when you have a quarterback that's as up and down as AR has been, which I think then that also limits the ability of Shane Steichen to be a great head coach and not just an offensive coach in that realm. But definitely, obviously, as an offensive coach, if the quarterback can't do what he needs to do. You could also make the argument that Shane Steichen is a really great offensive coach, but not great at developing quarterbacks. That could be a very real thing, especially a lot of these young guys. They're not always great at developing quarterbacks. They're great at maximizing a quarterback who obviously has a great skill set, right? And some coaches are really great at developing quarterbacks. They're really great at elevating quarterbacks, and that from, that are kind of average to good or good to great. It's all different skill sets that I talk about a lot, over the months when talking about coaching. It's never just one thing. If you're a great coach, it just doesn't mean that you're all great at all of the things. It's what separates an Andy Reid as a truly GOAT special coach, because he can truly do everything. He can make a bad quarterback good, a great quarterback elite, a quarterback who was a bust now no longer a bust. Like he can have a quarterback who's already elite and maximize him even more. Not all coaches have that ability. Not all coaches, and a lot of it comes with experience. More than anything, I wouldn't say that Andy Reid necessarily had that skill set 20 years ago. It takes time. You need to have all the various quarterbacks. You need to coach McNabb. You need to coach Vic. You need to coach Nick Foles. You need to kind of, you need to kind of have a little bit of it all. And when you have some of these younger coaches, the Shane Steichens of the world, it's not always 100% there for them. So yeah. I don't know where the Colts go from here at this point, honestly. I really, really don't. I really am a firm believer in Shane Steichen. I like I said, I do think it's fair to have the question mark about him as a head coach, but if you're a Colts fan, you really just kind of have to have this feeling of like, can we please just get the quarterback position right? Because I actually really do believe that if you get the quarterback position right, you just get the quarterback right, combine that with Shane Steichen, you're going to get high-level ball. You're going to win some games. And then I think potentially any of the issues that Shane Steichen may have as a head coach in terms of commanding the locker room, getting people to listen to him. Apparently they come late to meetings and stuff. Like, there just seems to appear like a slightly lack of respect for Shane Steichen. But I think that when you actually have some continuity, consistency, high-level quarterback play, I think it's just easier to kind of set your culture in that regard. And in a lot of ways, they kind of had it even with like a Gardner Minshew a couple years ago. And I think, even just seeing what he was able to do with Gardner Minshew kind of proved who Shane Steichen is worth. He's really the only coach that was ever able to even remotely really kind of have a semblance of a season with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. And he was just a throw away from making the playoffs and beating the Houston Texans with that. So, I do believe that the coach is there, but, you just need consistent. You just need at least consistent average quarterback play. And I think the Colts could win. The problem is that the quarterback position for the Colts has been so up and down that it's just kind of like, I don't know what we're going to get out of this. And then the problem is it becomes so brutal to game plan and play call. I forget what game it was. Oh, I think it was Tom Brady was calling the game, and I think it was with Russell Wilson. And he was just like, man, like, he's like the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's like, he has no idea what play to call right now because like everything is just getting messed up. Right, like Russell Wilson made a couple bad decisions. He forced the ball. He overthrew a pass. Like it was just like a handful of plays like in a row that just were not working. And it's just like he made a comment. He's just like, man, Arthur probably doesn't have any idea what to even call in this moment. And that's what happens when you're getting kind of inconsistent play. You're just like, oh my God, if I dial up a short 5-yard pass, you throw it at their feet. If I have you roll out and there's space for you to run, you decide to hold on to the ball and then you don't take the lane, or like whatever it is. It's just like, so it's just like in this moment, I'm like, I don't know what to dial up. I don't know how to put you in a position to succeed. And I always talk about this, that, one of the biggest jobs for a coach is to put their players in a position to succeed. And when that player is inconsistent, it makes it really, really hard for the coach to do that. Whereas if you're just consistently average, or dare I say even consistently bad, it still adds some clarity of like, okay, he's really consistently bad at X, Y, and Z, but he's pretty good at, at F. So let's just really lean on F right now. But when it's inconsistent, you're like, I don't know what to do in this situation. That's what the Colts had been dealing with AR more than anything. So I'm not even looking necessarily maybe for like gigantic steps forward, but you just need some consistency. And I think with some of the consistency, then you'll have more success, more clarity, which then kind of feeds off that, which then hopefully leads to even more success, more growth, etc., etc. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones in terms of them, I guess, both being contributors to the Indianapolis Colts, according to the Colts themselves? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.